The left despises free-thinking black individualists like me. And I'll tell you why right now. Before I get into that, if at any point you feel moved to subscribe, I would encourage you to do so. It helps me continue giving you guys messages like this. So allow me to explain to all of you what happened to me over the course of the past week or so. I went onto the Young Turks network to debate Dr. Rashad Ritchie over the issue of critical race theory, a very polarizing issue, an issue in which a lot of misinformation is going around, especially on a particular side of the political aisle, and it has been dubbed a moral panic by many people. Now, the idea of a black individual debating critical race theory on the negative side does offend certain people's sensibilities. After the debate, I figured, you know what? I believe I did well, but the commenters of the Young Turks didn't seem to think so, and in all honesty, I didn't think they would think so either. However, many of their sentiments were grotesque and eye-opening, and I'll tell you why they're eye-opening after I read a few of them to you. Here's one comment that I got. Candace Owens' brother needs to get off of here. Now, I don't even think I look like her, but okay, I guess every black person is similar, right? Seems pretty prejudicial to me. Watson, stay off of Wikipedia. I can't even spell Wikipedia because he made my head hurt and of how stupid he sounds. I smell Oreo, LOL. Well, perhaps the sugar from the Oreos is why you cannot think, my friend. So this is what Candace Owens looks like with the shaved head. We won't even go into that. That's a low dig. Here's one that I really like. Does Watson even know any black people other than his immediate family? In a response to this comment, trust me, he probably doesn't even associate with his black family and gets pissed when he looks in the mirror. All of this deduced from my opposition to critical race theory. Let's keep going on. He definitely works in the house under Massa. Many of us, when we see such comments, regardless of what political position we hold, would simply shake our heads, dismiss these comments as childish, and proceed forth in our lives. But I'm here to tell you why that's not possible in this instance. These comments and this event of being in a leftist space has really made me realize just how much a particular contingent of the left absolutely hates black individuals who speak out against the orthodoxy and do so compellingly. Someone who is speaking out foolishly or who is talking in cliches can be dismissed, but someone who does so compellingly is attacked because they are effective. I used to think the term the intolerant left was nothing more than a political miscalculation meant to smear people. There are many different kinds of people who hold political ideologies who are in the left, and not all of them could be intolerant, right? And this sort of philosophical inquisitiveness has made me avoid using such language. But there are a lot of people in the online left who are against a certain type of person, especially when that certain type of person breaks their understanding of what that person should be. Is this because there are a few rogue, ragtag leftists who have diverged from what is acceptable and from what many other well-mannered leftists would deem as acceptable? Or is it because there is a deeper, fundamental ethos that pervades the left? It is the latter. I don't think what I have seen, what Candace Owens has seen, what Larry Elder has seen, is anything but a universal constant if you accept a few principles. For many left-leaning individuals, there is an emphasis on the egalitarian ideal. And what that means depends on what flavor of leftism you're getting. For a democratic socialist, the egalitarian ideal is that we will have freedom from want, that no one will ever go for a lack of material sustenance at all. Then there is a different part of the left that is more infused with racial identitarianism, racial identity, racial collectivism, that says the moral ideal is to ensure that black folks are protected, transgender, gay, all of them are protected, and that the systemic barriers are thoroughly dismantled. All of this comes together to create a cohesive belief system in which one thing is constant, regardless of what flavor, whether it's a progressive from the 60s, whether it's a Bernie Sanders democratic socialist, whether it's a critical race theory adherent, there seems to be a single ethos underlying everything, and that is, there is an emphasis on the left in abstractions. An abstraction, my friends, is simply a concept that we hold to be very grand that may or may not adhere to what actually exists in reality. The abstract idea the left has about black individuals, as reflected by many left-wing thought leaders, regardless of who it is, they have the idea of the group identified individual. For the race people like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, it's the idea that the black man, the black community is oppressed. Again, the group identified individual. And therefore, we must take steps to fix their oppression. If you go against their prescriptions, or if you deviate from the orthodoxy, what happens? You are considered an existential threat to their idea of what a black person is, to their idea of what a working class person is, and you are therefore no longer a part of that entity. You guys hear me right now? No longer a part of that entity, and considered an existential threat to the preservation of that entity. That's why they were calling me not black. That's why they were calling me an Oreo. Because in left-wing circles, the idea of whiteness, as is expressed by many critical theorists, as is expressed by many racial identitarians, it's not simply a skin color, it's not simply a phenotype, but it's also how the phenotype, how the skin color has interacted with systems of oppression, power and privilege, and all kind of other concepts they use to understand the human being. What's the point, my friends? Because some of that was very heavy. The point is this. We have gotten so far away in our politics from understanding the individual as a sovereign entity, from understanding the individual as someone who should be estimated and measured in a way that is whole and holistic to who they are, and not as a political constituency. This is the foundation of identity politics. The idea that skin color is descriptive. We have reduced all meaning to the constituencies created by certain political movement, and we have forgotten the natural complexity of the human being. America was founded, my friends, on this thing called natural law theory. And natural law theory postulates many, many things, but above all, it postulates the social faculty of the individual as the dominant or reigning estimation of our value. And from that faculty, we can discern certain moral certainties and certain ethical certainties about the individual. But it is the faculty that is endemic to our humanity which makes this possible. But for many leftists, that faculty is irrelevant when compared to their identity politics driven conception of what the human being is. That's why many folks on the left can't stand me, because all of their ideas, all of their beliefs rest on a collective understanding of the human being and not an individual understanding of the human being. Does this mean I'm a oppressed person or I'm a victim? No, of course not. I could choose to respond to all of those comments by hanging my head low in shame and thinking, oh dear, look at you, Christian Watson. Maybe you should just stop. Or I could respond by simply saying to myself, you are a complex individual. You contain multitudes in your soul and your humanity. You're trying to do something special here. And the fact that folks can't understand that is no bearing on your character. It is, in fact, a lens to see their own deficiencies. Let me just make something very clear. Not all leftists are the same, but in many groups, there are general trends. And whenever someone who happens to be black speaks out against the identity-based orthodoxy that I have identified and I have dissected in this video, there is always a deluge of opposition. Anger. I had someone tell me one time, Christian, you're black. How can you not support Black Lives Matter? These words came out of this person's mouth. After being mystified for a few seconds as to how something so ridiculous and asinine and irrational could emerge from the mouth of someone who supposedly has a brain, I looked at them and said, my skin color does not account for my beliefs. My skin color is a physical trait. My beliefs are a spiritual trait. My beliefs and your beliefs, my friends, are spiritual insofar as they cannot be apprehended by the senses necessarily unless I give them to you. You don't know what I believe until I express them to you. But once again, the spiritual is being traded for the physical, and the physical is manifesting in the political realm to drive certain decisions, and this is what we get when we look at the destruction of black individuality that has happened over the course of the past few decades. There have been people trying to take advantage of the pain and rage so many African Americans have experienced in this country. They've been trying to use that for political fruit. Well, I say no more, my friends. I will continue to speak out against critical race theory. I will continue to speak out against race profiteering. I will continue to speak out against the collectivization of the black individual with phrases such as the black body or the black community, none of which actually exists. The only thing that I can account for is my individual self. I don't know what a black body is. I'm black and I have a body, but I have no idea what the black body is. I don't know what a black community is. Those things are abstractions which do not conform to the material circumstances of reality. I can account, however, for the black individual, and I will continue to account for those individual people, look at their particular circumstances, and advocate for their humanity in a manner that affirms their humanity, not in a manner that puts their humanity against the backdrop of oppression, against the backdrop of inequity, so-called inequity, and then tries to tell them that they are no higher, or they can be no better, or it's going to be harder for them to be any better than their circumstances. To hell with that. And if any of you really want to help black folk, the best thing you can do is also push for black individuality as well. The best thing you can do is not try to silence dissenting voices like me. The best thing you can do is try to interact with the values and not physical qualities, and to stop trying to make aesthetics mean something about knowledge. The best thing you can do is shed any ignorance you may have, if you have an ignorance in the first place. Because I know what I'm going to do. My friends, I love you if you love me. Support the channel in the way you can. I have a Patreon, I have a locals. All of that will be in the comment section down below. Or please join my Discord, which is going to be also in the comment section down below. God bless. Please stay pensive.